All right, it's panel time. NBC News Chief White House Correspondent Kristen Welker, also co-anchor of Weekend Today. Amy Walter, publisher and editor-in-chief of the Cook Political Report. She's going to tell us the definition of a wave. Former Republican Governor Pat McCrory of North Carolina and former Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill of Missouri. Every elected official, Amy, believes a wave is whatever happens when they lose.
I win.
Right. Right. Either way, right?
Yeah.
It's always about them,
yes.
Which Sean Patrick Maloney wouldn't engage in. Give me your definition of when you would think this is a wave. What is a wave, and how would you define it?
Right. I mean, we can define it, you're right, any way we would like. But look, I think there are three scenarios that we're looking at. One is what a lot of Republicans feel like is happening right now. The bottom is falling out. Mm-hmm. Democrats aren't going to show up, not as many as Republicans. Republicans are fired up. Independents break overwhelmingly for Republicans. Yeah. That's a wave. That's 30-plus seats. I would say that would be a wave. Plus, the Senate, it's not just they win one seat, but maybe two or three. I think we're somewhere in between scenario 2 and 3, which is, as your poll showed, both sides really energized, going to show up. We're totally polarized, so there are not defectors. Mm-hmm. To me, it's also, where do those independent voters go? When you get a wave election, independents break by double digits for the out party, and they're not breaking it. So it makes me think either one, they are still sitting on the fence, but are they breaking and just not telling us? Or two, maybe they don't show up. And that is another question. What does that look like in an electorate that's just DNR intensity?
I do want to remind people, only twice this century have we had a national election without party control changing of either the White House, House, or Senate.
That's right.
So keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Well, and Democrats and those who are close to President Biden say if we can hold Republicans to 20 seats in the House, that's a pretty good night, because look at how many seats former President Obama and former President Trump lost. We're talking about 60 and 40 respectively. And so I think that's part of why you're seeing the president try to focus on this messaging of democracy, that democracy is on the ballot. Some Democrats scratching their heads. Why is he talking about that and not the economy? The pushback is because that's what's going to energize the base and try to mitigate those losses that they're trying to stave off. It's a risky strategy, though, Chuck, because as you've been talking about with all of your guests, the main issues are still inflation and the economy.
You know, Claire, I've had Democrats quietly say, look, it better be only 20 seats. Because they want to be able to get it back in 24. And if it gets too big, then it becomes hard to get back in 24. That's double for the Senate.
Well, here's the deal. Listen, this time of year is exciting for all of us who are so close to it, but it also gives me a giant headache. I mean, it is like so ridiculous. Because,
well, you've been on the ballot. How does it feel when you're on the ballot?
I have won when the polls said I couldn't, and I have lost when the polls said I would win. Yeah. So I am not a big believer in all of the horse race stuff. I think a lot of people are motivated to vote, and I think historically, to call it a wave, it would have to be the same size as Donald Trump lost after his first 2 years in the presidency. We would have to lose more than 40 seats, more than 60 seats, for it not to be lining up with what happens historically. And, you know, inflation is really hard, but what most Americans don't get, this is global. This is not Joe Biden. We have some of the least inflation in the developed world. But he has not been able to really get that home, because when bread costs that much and when eggs cost that much, that's what people vote about.
You know, it's interesting. Republicans start at such a high point, though. They only need 20 to 25 to hit the number that they've had in the past on this. Exactly. Pat, are your sources in North Carolina telling you, what are you hearing? Is it a polarized electorate, or do you see a break?
In North Carolina, it feels like a wave. But as Claire and I know, I've played this game, and I've been played by the game. The last week or two is all about emotion, no content. In fact, most of this election has been about emotion and no content, which is a very sad commentary.
By the way, do you know that 70% of people told us they made up their mind before Labor Day?
Yeah.
70%.
If the negative ads haven't worked by now, they're not working. If you've tried to hit an emotional link, they've heard it all. They're sick of TV ads right now. But the Dems are trying to play on the emotion of democracy, abortions, cutting Social Security, which is an old, tried, sometimes very effective effort, and Trump. Although they haven't talked about Trump as much as I thought they would. The Republicans, I think, still have the winners. Inflation, especially related to energy, which Rick didn't mention. The gas prices, the price of egg, the price of turkey as Thanksgiving's coming up. Yeah. That is what everyone's reminded of every day. That's why I give advantage to the Republicans. Immigration, Biden and Harris are an issue also. They don't consume a room. They don't have standing when they walk in the room. Some people do. Obama does. Biden and Harris don't.
No, in fairness, nobody has standing when their approval ratings are in the low 40s. It's amazing how much your standing gets better when you're in the 50%. In fairness, Joe Biden was a 1% candidate.
Well,
he had no
I
standing
think
in 08.
The issue is going to be,
right? In fairness,
the issue is going to be with Trump going to Ohio and Florida, which is a whole nother issue.
Well,
Biden going. Are they going to turn off more voters?
I was just going to say, let me bring up. This was Donald Trump last night. He is clearly focused on an election. Not this one.
Focused on himself?
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
and he ain't focused on this election. Here he is rattling off poll numbers to his rally goers the other night. Listen to this from last night.
There it is. Trump at 71. Ron DeSanctimonious at 10%. Mike Pence at 7. Oh, Mike's doing better than I thought. Liz Cheney, there's no way she's at 4%. There's no way. There's no way. But we're at 71 to 10 to 7 to 4.
Ron DeSanctimonious. Okay, this idea that we were overhyping a Trump-DeSantis rivalry, no.
No, we're not. I mean, he already has a nickname for a potential rival. Chuck, I had a conversation overnight with a high-level source who's been in constant communication with former President Trump, who said he very seriously considered announcing last night or sometime this weekend. His aides advisors have urged him not to do that. Cooler heads prevailed, I'm told, and he didn't. He all but said that on the record, by the way. He all but walked up to the line of announcing that he was running for president again by saying, I will very, 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 he added a fourth very, probably do it. He said, but I want the focus to be on these candidates. And I am told he is just itching to announce, to potentially freeze the field. But the question is, will he?
I've talked to people that said the smartest thing he could do is hurry up and announce. It would freeze the field. But Claire, if you could have Donald Trump do one thing in the last 48 hours, is it this?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Absolutely.
Claire.
Go for it, Donald.
Is it the last thing you want him doing? Right.
I wouldn't. If I'm Republican, I don't want Trump to take away from the message that's going to win, and I don't want. And if I'm a Democrat, I don't want Biden out there either.
Democrats are welcoming this,
2 weeks
no
ago.
doubt.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.